he is sleeping. Even after waking up, he still rolls in the bed, not keen to get up from bed soon. When you ask him, he would say, "Oh, that has become my habit." You smoke! You are a chain smoker. You keep puffing the smoke. Ask him why not he stop this smoking. He would definitely say, whenever he faces problem, when he wants to think deeply, normally he smokes to get the solution. This he has been doing for long as a reflex action. It's only his habit and nothing wrong with that. He would argue and continue smoking. This girl licks her lip every time when she attempts to talk. Asking why, she would say, that is her natural habit only. How does that bother anyone?
Junk foods for a quick bite whenever they are on the go. But many consume junk foods as a main course and regularly as they are habituated with that food.
Habits, habits, habits. In all the above cases, the actors shift the blame externally. They simply say it is not their own making. They have not done them consciously, nor are they responsible for this. There is a meaning we can see here. Left to themselves, they don't like such behaviors, but helpless in that. Many of us talk all the time about our habits for our behavior. If you want to change the habits, let us understand how scientists define them and how research can tell us how to make them and break them. A habit is an action or behavior that we do automatically. So we think in response to some contextual cue. Habits are first like cobwebs, later becomes a cable. We'll see in this video what is habit loops, how habit loops work, how are they formed, what is the power of habits, but how basically habits are created, how brain organizes these habits. We will also see how this habit forming were useful in olden days, but slowly it had become a prison and we are trapped. Can we really break that and rewire the brain with more useful and functional habits? Please watch the video till the end.
The habit loop. Habits are actions that are triggered by cues, such as a time of day, an activity, or a location. They culminate in a feel-good reward that, through repetition, fuses the connection between cue and reward firmly in the brain. Psychologists at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology made a landmark discovery in 1999 of a cue routine reward feedback loop. Then journalist Charles Duhigg later coined the habit loop in his 2012 book, The Power of Habit. It was designed by Ruth Basagoysha. Here's how the habit loop works. 1. Cue. You experience a stimulus, a trigger. It could be being in a certain location, smelling a certain smell, seeing a certain person, or feeling a particular emotional state, among many other possibilities. 2. Craving. The stimulus causes you to desire a particular outcome that you find rewarding. It motivates you to act. 3. Response. You engage in behaviors, thoughts, or actions you take to get that outcome. 4. Reward. The outcome occurs and you feel a sense of reward as a result, satisfying your craving. The pleasure or relief you experience reinforces the cue, making the cue even better at triggering craving next time. That's why it's an endless loop. But how habits are formed? Habits are routines or rituals that are unconscious or that have become almost automatic or second nature. A habit is a practice you repeat so regularly that it can be hard to change. This could be biting your nails when you're worried, picking up a bottle of wine whenever you pass the liquor store, or cracking open a bag of chips while watching TV at the end of the day. Sometimes you are jiggling your leg while you're on a flight or licking your lips when you're forced to do some public speaking. But where do habits come from? Your sensory nervous system is always monitoring for actions and releasing dopamine, the brain's reward chemical. We are always wired only to seek out pleasure.
Any habit we develop is because our brain is designed to pick up on things that reward us. When your brain recognizes a pattern, such as a connection between action and satisfaction, it files that information away, neatly in an area of the brain, like the hard disk. This may be what makes habits so hard to break. They come from a brain region that's out of your conscious control, so you're barely aware you're doing them under its control.
In the early days of humankind, this was beneficial. The reward center of our brains was a survival tool that helped us to seek out the things we needed to survive, like comfort and calories, and to avoid discomfort. This linking of cue, action, and reward is how a habit is born. Okay. When loops are formed like this, it becomes ironclad, and you feel unable to wriggle out of that loop. Does it mean that you can never be out of that chain and cannot break the habit / even if it is bad one? Are the habits are formed like an ironclad in your brain? But scientists proved that the nerves which are connected in the brain is plastic-like, and they call it as neuroplasticity.
Habits are a big part of who we are. What we do habitually makes up much of what we do entirely. In fact, it's estimated that up to 70% of our waking behavior is made up of habitual behavior. Habits are things that our nervous system learned, but not always consciously. Sometimes we develop habits that we're not even aware of until they become a problem, or maybe they serve us well. So if habits are largely learned, consciously or unconsciously, we have to ask ourselves, what is learning? Well, learning is neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is simply the process by which our nervous system changes in response to experience. We have to ask, what changes? Well, what changes are the connections between neurons. Neurons are just nerve cells. They communicate with one another by electricity and by sending chemical signals to one another that inspire the next neuron and the next neuron to either be electrically active or not. But at the end of the day, neuroplasticity is about forming new neural circuits, new pathways by which certain habits are likely to occur and other ones are less likely to occur. So we've got habits, we have that habits are learned, we have that learning involves neuroplasticity, and that neuroplasticity involves changes in the connections between neurons, nerve cells.
Not so long ago, many scientists believed that the brain did not change after childhood, that it was hardwired and fixed by the time we became adults. But recent advances in only the last decade now tell us that this is simply not true. The brain can and does change throughout our lives. It is adaptable, like plastic. Hence, neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. How does neuroplasticity work? If you think of your brain as a dynamic, connected power grid, there are billions of pathways or roads lighting up every time you think, feel, or do something. Some of these roads are well traveled. These are our habits, our established ways of thinking, feeling, and doing. Every time we think in a certain way, practice a particular task, or feel a specific emotion, we strengthen this road. It becomes easier for our brains to travel this pathway. Say we think about something differently, learn a new task, or choose a different emotion. We start carving out a new road. If we keep traveling that road, our brains begin to use this pathway more, and this new way of thinking, feeling, or doing becomes second nature. The old pathway gets used less and weakens. This process of rewiring your brain by forming new connections and weakening old ones is neuroplasticity in action. The good news is that we all have the ability to learn and change by rewiring our brains. If you have ever changed a bad habit or thought about something differently, you have carved a new pathway in your brain and experienced neuroplasticity firsthand. With repeated and directed attention towards your desired change, you can rewire your brain.